I have all this money, right? I put my money in my bag and I said, I'm taking it to the US. All this. These are $20 bills. I have all this money that I could have easily...
I'm a first-generation American with both parents from Jamaica, and boy, do I have stories. I watched my mother send money back to her older brother in Jamaica for years. She was practically covering majority of his expenses. And the excuse was always, oh, things are so hard in Jamaica, there's not much opportunity, etc., etc. So when I was a teenager, I went to Jamaica for the first time and met this particular uncle. The first thing he said to me after finding out I was his sister's daughter was, wow, I heard your mom has gotten fat since moving to the States. Then he proceeded to ask 13-year-old me for $20. And I really think that's where my villain origin story began as it relates to sending money back home. Because first of all, this was an able-bodied man and he really could have worked. But I realized that the same people you're supporting will turn around and make jest of you behind your back. So if you want to send money, go for it. But this idea that you're obligated to send money back to people in your home country has got to stop.
So there's a video circulating by a young lady and she's talking about how most of us are no longer going to be sending money back home, and she's basically saying how we're speaking from a point of privilege and how we are losing our sense of community by doing so, in addition to some other points. She turned her stitches off, but I want to share my perspective. The reason why most of us are not going to be sending money back home the way our parents were doing is because the way our parents were doing it was not sustainable. It's not wrong to have a need, but it is not practical to rely on somebody to fund your life. Now, I'll always say this, when it comes to education and like medical needs, I am more than willing to, finance a family member if my finances can accommodate it. When it comes to health and education, I can do it. Particularly education. Why? Because if I'm investing in somebody's education, I know that at a point they will be able to, support themselves and get a job. So the end goal is gonna help their own financial freedom. They're not gonna remain dependent on me for the rest of their life. But what is happening, and as we've seen from our parents, is that they keep sending money back home to people who are just waiting for our parents' money to be able to live life. That is just not appropriate. And let's think about it even critically. If you're to calculate the money that African parents have been sending back home versus the amount of money they're putting in their own children's education fund to go to college, yeah, crickets. There are certain things that just don't make sense. And I think that this generation of Africans, we're learning, or even immigrants, we're learning how to have boundaries. You cannot give somebody else life at the expense of your own. It's just not going to work. Basically, don't give a man a fish. Teach him how to fish so he can be independent. And I think that's what the scary part is. The people receiving money back home are not interested in becoming financially independent. They are more excited at the prospect of having somebody fund their lifestyle. That is not healthy. And I think that us saying no is completely in our right, because again, you are having African parents sending thousands of dollars back home to family members, yet their own kids they don't even have a college fund for. Talk to any financial advisor and they're going to tell you that you don't have wisdom. You are financially illiterate by doing so. All in all, we are having boundaries, and that is going to annoy the people who want to be dependent on us, and that's not our problem. And I think we have to add another layer on the politics of sending money back home, because it's very one-sided. We are sending money back home, yet our finances are being mishandled when we are trusting people back home to manage it. And I'll give you an example. How many people do you know who their parents sent money back home for their house to be built?
When it comes to this topic, this is the issue that I think affects a lot of immigrant parents, African parents, whatever you want to call it. They all lack this simple principle of setting boundaries with people, even their family members. They literally have the hardest time saying no to people when they know they don't want to do shit. Now, I'm not saying that them sending money back home is wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I commend them for doing that. But at a certain point, there's a certain boundary you have to set with these people, bro. You can't set this type of dynamic where you're making them expect you to send them money to live their whole lives, and then you're fucked years later because they're expecting that. They're living off of you. And when you stop sending them money, this resentment from their side is gonna come to you. Then this money that you're not giving to your family back here, they're resenting you for it. So that's a double homicide. And this all stems from the fact that they can't say no to people.
One thing that really shocks me is when I hear children of immigrants insisting that they're never going to send money back home. And then
I feel like I have a lot to say on this topic. As somebody who's lived in both a third world country and a first world country and experienced both realities, I am very sorry to say I will not be one of those people sending my money back home. I say this to say this. People back home feel a certain level of entitlement to your money because you live in this country. But little do they know that even living in this country is still a hard job. And I say this because I've seen the trauma and the stress that my mum has gone through of trying to make ends meet here and then make ends meet back at home. And then even people back at home are still saying it's not enough. I feel like if there's any way in which I am going to supply finances to people back home is by providing and teaching financial freedom. Me providing you money doesn't benefit you in the long run, because at the end of the day, God forbid anything happens to me, your cash flow is gone. Your cash cow, gone. You have no money. The way in which I would provide support is by offering certain things like paying for education, if it's starting a business, all these things that will help you financially in the long term, because providing you $200 now is only going to help you until the end of the month. And child, living in Zimbabwe, I have seen these people is greedy. And I'm sorry to say this, but they are greedy. They tell you that I don't have much money, but they'll still feel, you live in England, surely you have. No, it's hard here too. It's not easy. I don't want to speak that everybody is ungrateful, but for my experience and the experience that my mom has gone through, it has honestly been something that I've said to myself, no.
Sending money back to your relatives back in Africa in this economy does not make sense. We are struggling the same way you guys are. Have you not seen the rise of living, bro? I can't afford it. So you man asking me to send you money back to Ghana.
So in my last video where I said I'm never sending money to Africa again, you guys had a lot of questions. In the video, I mentioned that when I got there, after like 20 years, I got there, I had to put gas in the car every single time I wanted to go somewhere. I had to give like $500 for me and my kids to eat because they asked me to contribute to that. If I wanted water, we had to pay for our own water. If they did something for us, we had to pay for it. Despite us like sending money over the years and helping and medical bills and so many things, people had questions. They were like, what the heck? I'm going to answer something. So one of the questions was, how do they respond when you say you're not sending money or when you stop sending money? The same thing, like you a dunker, they meaning you're a cursed child. You're not going to get no blessing. Nothing good is ever going to come to your life. Like you're mean, you're selfish, watch. You know, you're going to like you're going to fail. Like misery is going to come to you. Same stuff. Which is normal. I mean, listen, that's normal. That makes me laugh. That's actually whatever. Someone else asked, maybe they really couldn't afford, to feed you guys or whatever. Maybe that's why. No. I don't want to get too personal, but no, they can afford it because I know for sure they make $3,000 a month in that house. For sure. 100%. Is the fact living beyond your means because you have family in Europe and America and France and whatever. That's why you have to live a particular lifestyle. But otherwise, yes, they easily make $3,000 a month. They can afford to host us for 3 weeks without us having to give a dime. And the audacity was that when I was leaving, right, they were like, oh, you're not gonna like leave us anything, you're not gonna give us anything. Like the day I was leaving with my suitcase and everything. And look, I have all this money, right? I put my money in my bag and I said I'm taking it to the US. All this. These are $20 bills. I have all this money that I could have easily, like, if this thing would have never happened, I probably would have given it away to different people. Probably give everybody $100 a piece. But because of that, I was like, no. The audacity to ask after all this, after if you buy me water, I have to give your money back. If you buy my kids popsicle, I have to give your money back. And then when I'm leaving, you want to ask me, oh, you're not gonna give us anything? You're not gonna leave us anything? I took my thing. I still have it. I even forgot that I had it. I brought my money back with me. Hell no. And lastly, you know what? I really don't like to talk about stuff like this, right? Because I have 6 siblings, and I also feel like as much as I like to talk about things, I have to respect their privacy. But what triggered me was when I watched a young lady video of her saying she's not sending money back home, and people were coming at her, and it just triggered me. That's one. Number two, you guys know I'm heavy on the Afghan, what's going on, like the soccer. And I wanted to go to Afghan. I only work 4 days a month here. I work PRN. And I already work my hours. So I have time off. I wanted to go to the Afghan. I told these people that I was coming, right? I wanted to watch the Afghan. I'm coming, right? And they're like, why would you come? Why? You can't just send us that money instead of wasting it to come watch the Afghan. And some people might be like, yeah, just, girl, I work. If I want to go watch the Afghan and make me happy, I should be able to do that. But it's like, why are you coming to watch the Afghan if you could just send us this money? I was like, because I want to watch the Afghan. That didn't work, right? And then it became, okay, well, if you come, we're not going to be able to pick you up from the airport because the car is broken. Unless you send me $1,000. Unless you send us $1,000 to fix the car so we could pick you up at the airport, we won't be able to pick you up. Yeah, the audacity. And like, and somebody else was like, well, why don't you have a conversation with them? Let me tell you something. In an African household, you don't talk back. You could be 50. You don't talk back. If you talk back or you defend yourself, it's basically like you're insulting them. It's basically like you basically beat them up at this point. So like defending yourself is not even worth it because it's gonna become a fight. It's gonna become like more problematic. So you just take it and just smile. I mean, that's just the way it is. So unfortunately, it's no like sitting down, talking about it, talking back. It's not even worth it. It's not even gonna click in. So with that being said, I'm really not gonna answer anything because I'm gonna be like a faucet spilling tea, and I'm gonna have to start walking around with bodyguards, which is not necessary. So it baffles me. It baffles me just as much as it baffles you guys to know that legit, like. And the weird thing is, like, I have Nigerian friends and Ghanaian friends who was like, when I was telling them this, they was like, yo, I be going home. I go back home with nothing in my pocket. I literally just come home and it's my family house. Like, I don't pay for food, nothing. Like, wow.
So guys, yeah, these parents back home don't know the cost of living. Like, they literally don't know. Like, it's expensive back here, it's expensive overseas. Like, they literally don't know cost of living. Guys, leave your own comments on the comment section down below. Let's discuss what is it like in your family. Like, do you advise sending money back home, or I think they should go and work? People back home need to do more. Like, you need to do more. We are struggling over here as well. So leave your own opinion in the comment section down below. What is it like in your own side or wherever you live all over the world? Let's continue the discussion on the comment section down below, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.